Most people think AI is complicated. They think that you need to be technical or take a course to use it. But the truth is, AI is literally just talking to a computer that thinks. And if you're running a small business or managing your career and want to go to the next step, AI can actually solve your 5 biggest daily problems in about 30 minutes of setup. Not weeks or months, but literally just 30 minutes. So I'm going to show you exactly how, in practical, actionable steps. So let's get into it. Here's what happens in most small businesses. You have an idea, maybe you want to launch a new product or change your pricing or try a new marketing channel or marketing campaign, and you're just guessing. And you're hoping that it's gonna work. You're relying on your gut feeling. And I've made this mistake many times before building my first successful business. Well, the problem is your gut does not have access to market data or competitor analysis or the actual customer needs. Your gut is basically just rolling dice and making uninformed assumptions. So here's how you can fix this with AI. Open ChatGPT right now and start a conversation like this. Tell it, you are my business strategist. I need to decide whether to launch a new service in my consulting business. Here's what I'm thinking. And then just explain your situation, but be very specific. Talk about your business, your customers, what you are considering, why you are hesitant, and what data you have. And then ask it, what am I not seeing here? What would make this decision clearer for me? What data am I missing to make a more informed decision? And this one here is the most important part. You now tell AI to ask you questions to test and validate your idea. So the AI will ask you questions that you probably didn't think to ask yourself. It will point out gaps in your thinking. It will suggest the steps for making the decision. And here's the most important part. Keep using the same chat for all your strategic questions. Do not start a new conversation every time, because over weeks and months of that input, that chat learns your business context and the advice will get sharper and more personalized. I actually do this almost every week for email marketing campaigns, new product ideas, or product improvements for the existing ones. Like last month, for example, I was deciding whether to create a new bootcamp or expand an existing one with more features. So I went and explained both options to ChatGPT with all the details, like the effort required, the potential revenue, the market demand. It asked me questions that I hadn't considered, like what happens to my existing students if I split my focus, and whether I had validated demand for the new topic in a specific way. And that conversation back and forth led me to do a simple validation test first, which basically just saved me from spending 3 months on building something that just did not have an ROI. It was just not worth it. And instead, make an addition to the existing program that made it much more desirable for a new group of people, as well as existing ones. But the key here is treating this like a real advisor relationship. Because imagine you hired a consultant and gave them 5-word questions and expected high-quality answers, which were custom and individual for you. You would give them full context, right? You would expect them to ask you questions to really understand your business, and you would be disappointed if they didn't, because otherwise they would just give you generic advice, which is not 100% fit for your situation. So do the same with AI, because just like the expert needs full context of your business to give you specific, individualized advice, AI needs the same context. So treat it the same way. Now let's say I have an idea for a new product or new offer with the existing product, and I need to create social media content to promote it. And I need to write emails for email marketing campaign. I need to write website text to explain the offer. So this means there's a lot of writing involved in business. And often you sit there staring at a blank page thinking how to get started. Plus, you have this feeling of pressure that it needs to be perfect from the beginning. So you don't start, you procrastinate, instead do some other tasks which are more clear and easier, or you start and delete because you don't like the text. An hour passes and you have nothing. Again, I have experienced this often enough. And this is where AI becomes an absolute game changer. But very, very important. Most people use it wrong. They will literally go and type, write me a sales page for my consulting business or for my education, training, whatever. And that would generate garbage that sounds like a robot wrote it, which it did, and it's useless. It sounds like the most vague, shallow thing. It has no character, and obviously it won't convince anybody to buy your product or to be interested in doing anything with your business. So here's what you need to do instead. I actually use Claude for writing copies because I think it's much better at writing than ChatGPT, for example. So go and open Claude and tell it, I need to write an email to my customers about a new offer. I'm not asking you to write it for me. I'm going to write it myself and give you as input, and you're going to help me make it better. Then just start writing, giving as much detail as possible. Make it messy, unorganized, dump your ideas in there. Write it like you're explaining to a friend. You can literally write, so basically I'm launching this new consulting package and it's for small businesses who struggle with marketing, and the reason I created it is because I kept seeing the same problem over and over again. And literally just dump your ideas and thought process into the prompt and keep going. Write 10 sentences, then another 10. And the most important thing is that they don't need to be perfectly formulated because you're not writing it for the website or email, you're writing it as a prompt. So they just need to be informative for the AI to understand the context. But you don't need to think about the grammar and how you articulate it and how you formulate the phrases, because once you're done, then you tell AI, okay, now you have all the input, now help me turn this into a clear, articulate messaging or email or social media content. And that's where you get the most out of AI, because you already have the substance that AI needs, which is your actual thoughts, your original voice, the genuine reasons that you're excited about this new product. And AI simply helps you organize and clarify your ideas. It may suggest a better opening line. It points out where you're being vague. It helps you structure it better, but it's still your words and your voice. And here's a super important tip when using AI that I want to highlight. You want to keep doing what you're naturally good at and let AI handle the stuff that you are naturally really bad at. We humans, for example, we're way better at original creative thinking than AI, because AI just mixes and matches things that it's already seen. But where AI completely destroys us is taking messy thoughts and unstructured data and organizing them clearly, or looking at something we created and spotting exactly what could be better. So the way they should work is you do the thinking, AI does the cleaning up and refining. And I actually use this approach for every video script that I write now. I literally just open Claude and just start typing rough thoughts. Sometimes I literally just write, okay, I'm starting this script now and I'm not sure where this is gonna go, but the topic is about AI productivity, and what I really want to say is this is my experience, this is how I've used it myself, and I want to explain it as practically as possible to other people, and I just keep typing. Within 10 minutes, I have a draft written by me because I'm still prompting, and obviously it's not perfect because it's just my idea dump, but it's something that I can build on. It's not a blank page anymore. And editing something that exists is 10 times easier than creating something from nothing, from scratch, with the pressure that it needs to come out as a final script. And this is the mental trick here, is that you are removing all the pressure from yourself. You're not sitting down to write the perfect final version. You're just dumping thoughts that AI will help you clean up later. And somehow just knowing that you can be messy, you're allowed to have unclear ideas, and it doesn't have to be good yet. That's what unlocks the clarity. So sometimes I literally end up writing the entire script myself. I don't even need the polishing of AI anymore because I start messy and the ideas just become clearer as I keep writing the prompt. And as an extra tip, I actually use the same session for same type of scripts so that it gets more and more context from me and keeps the style consistent. But do not mix topics. So for example, I have one Claude session called Technical Video Scriptwriter for all my tech tutorials and explainer content, another one which is called the Business Video Scriptwriter, and then I have another one which is called Email Marketing Text Writer, and another session called Website Copywriter, and so on. Now, this next one is a killer for small business owners, and I'm sure that you will resonate with this one. You start your business, you have customers, maybe you have team members, and you end up answering the same questions every single day. Customers are asking every day, how do I access this program? What's your refund policy? Can you explain how this works? Is this included? Do you offer discounts? But also, your team is asking you questions, obviously, because they need information and guidance from you. Like, how do I handle this situation? What's the process for that? Where do I find accesses for this tool? Do we have discounts that we offer? And it's important to reply to all of this because your team may not be able to work properly without that information, and you may be losing customers if you don't reply to their questions quickly. But the problem is, every such interruption breaks your focus. Every repeated answer that you're answering for the 10th time literally just wastes your time, right? And you feel like you're running in circles instead of actually building your business and expanding. I had a time period where I literally spent 3 to 4 hours a day answering the same type of technical questions, which means this was the time that I couldn't work on new products or creating valuable content for social media or working on business strategy and vision. Just tedious, repetitive work of replying to questions, including when I was on vacation. And because I know this pain, I appreciate this AI use case even more. So here is how you can solve this with AI. And it takes about 30 to 40 minutes to set up. First, you open Google Doc and brain dump every common question you answer in your business. So what I did personally was I just went and copy-pasted every question and answer that I could find in my email inbox to the customer questions. Then I went and copy-pasted all the question answers from our Discord group, just collected all of them and just put it all in Google Docs. I didn't organize it, I didn't structure it, it was just a direct dump in there. So just write the questions and the answers. I then went and took all the questions and answered from the conversations that I had with my team. So customer questions, team questions, process questions, everything, I just put it in this Google Doc. And the rule here is if you get asked the same question more than twice, it goes directly in the document. And for me, these were things like, how do your students access the bootcamp? Well, they log into Teachable and find it under My Courses. Does this program prepare them for a job? Yes, and here's a proof of our graduates who got jobs in these specific companies. Is this program up to date? Yes, this is our update workflow, and this is how many times we release new updates and fixes. This is where you can see the latest updates, and at any time, this is a link to that. Or how do we process refunds? Well, we verify it's within 30 days, process in Digistore, remove the Teachable, access manually, send the confirmation email template. So basically all the details of the business operations was in there. So just dump it all. Messy is fine, incomplete is fine, and you're gonna add more later. So that's step 1. Now go to ChatGPT and click Create a GPT. This is a feature where you create your own custom GPT. And you can name it something like Business Knowledge Assistant or your company name. And in the instructions, you're gonna tell it, you are my knowledge assistant for my business. When someone asks a question, search the uploaded document and give a clear, direct answer based on the information there. If the answer is not in the document, tell them to contact me and explain that this information will be added. Then go ahead and upload your Google Doc that you created. That's it. You now have a custom AI assistant that knows your business in detail. So take that, put the link on your website, put it in your welcome emails, put it in your team Slack, and tell everyone, before you ask me, ask the assistant first. It has all the answers and it will give you instantly without you having to wait for my answer even for an hour or 2. And when you do that, here's what's going to happen. About 40 to 50% of questions will get answered immediately without your involvement. So this may save you literally 2 hours every single day of this draining, tedious work, except you like replying to emails. And that's 14 hours per week that you get back for more important and enjoyable tasks on your business. But here's the most beautiful part, which is every time someone asks a question that AI cannot answer, you add that question and answer to your Google Doc. So the next time AI knows how to answer that question. So you would never need to reply to the same question twice. And your knowledge base will grow over time and will have the entire context of your business and operations. Now, let's say you're posting on social media, you're sending emails, you have customers buying things, money is coming in, but you don't actually know what's working and what's not. Like which marketing channel brings the best customers, or which product is the most profitable? Where are people dropping off? You are literally just flying blind. The data exists, like you have it in different systems and spreadsheets and analytics dashboards or your CRM system. Even your email inbox has so much data. But again, as a human, it's not our strength to look at hundreds of emails in the email inbox or look at hundreds of lines of analytics data and make sense of it, right? So we have the data, but we can't interpret it. So we need insights, not just raw data. And hiring an analyst, which companies used to do, costs thousands and thousands, and they also need weeks to analyze this data and extract valuable information from it. And you would have to explain to them, give accesses to all the tools and systems, and make sure that they do their work properly, and so on. But here's what you can now do with AI. You can take whatever data you have, like sales numbers, customer information, website traffic, CRM data, whatever, and export all this data as simple spreadsheet documents. And again, it doesn't need to be clean, organized, because AI can handle messy data. So as a next step, open ChatGPT and upload your spreadsheet. And you remember from previous points that we don't want to be lazy with input, because the key of using AI most effectively is providing it as much context as possible so you get the best output possible. So that means we don't just say, here the data, just analyze it and tell me patterns that you see. Instead, we provide the full context and say something like this. This is my sales data from the past 6 months, including social media traffic from different platforms, email signups, email campaigns, open rates, the purchase data for all the products, our customer inquiries. So based on this data, I want to understand what's actually working in my business. So look at this data and tell me which social media platforms bring in the most customers, which lead magnets are bringing in the most signups, or which emails get us the most purchases, what topics get the most attention, but also identify what's concerning, what should I pay attention to, what seems broken or bit of out of ordinary. So look out for those patterns. And AI will go and analyze everything and very often point out patterns that you would never see yourself, because that's literally one of the strengths of AI, to look at massive sets of information and analyze and identify patterns or connections that we humans cannot easily see. And then you can dig deeper and ask it follow-up questions like, which marketing channel brings customers who spend the most? Or where are people dropping off in my sales process? What's the most profitable product when I factor in time that it takes to deliver? I actually did this with our bootcamp completion data. So I basically uploaded a spreadsheet showing which students finished and which ones dropped off. And I asked AI, analyze and give me questions on things like, what are the patterns of the students that complete the bootcamp versus the ones who don't? Or how actively do some students learn, and what are their learning patterns that basically stand out? Now, important note here, if you want to use this practically, is that this is all anonymous data. Because first of all, you don't need names or emails for this type of analysis. You just want to have an aggregate of data. So make sure to always anonymize your data before feeding it to ChatGPT or any AI, basically uploading it to their servers, because you want to protect your customer data, your employee data, or even your own business data. So always do that cleanup before you upload your spreadsheet data to the AI. And you can actually do this very easily when you see the spreadsheet export from the CRM system, or like we do from Teachable. You basically just delete all the columns that include any personal information, like delete the email column, name column, address, any personal data, because you don't need them anyways for the analysis. And when I upload it and ask those questions, AI actually found patterns that I never would have seen manually. Because again, we humans are bad at analyzing large sets of data and finding patterns, which happens to be one of the strengths of AI. So this was one super interesting data pattern that I found through AI. For example, students who watched the first lecture of the program within the first hour of enrollment had a 73% completion rate, and those who watched their first lecture after a few days or a week had a 31% completion rate. So that was an interesting pattern. And there was another one where there was a specific lecture in third module of our training where many people spent a lot of time proportional to the duration of the lecture itself, because it wasn't that long, which indicated to me that there was something challenging or complex or maybe unclear about the lecture that kept people stuck there. And another interesting pattern that I discovered through AI was that students who downloaded the practice files were 2.5 times more likely to complete the program. And I found those insights were gold because they were actionable. So what we did based on that information is we redesigned our onboarding to push people, to incentivize them basically to do the first lecture immediately, right after enrollment. So that was the first step. Then we went and checked that lecture that was taking so long for people to complete. We basically identified why it was difficult, and we broke that difficult lecture into 2 easier ones, added more clarity, more explanations, and so on, and simplified it as well. And as a third improvement, we added reminders to download the practice files. And our completion rate went from 32% to 61% in 3 months, which is almost double the amount. So that one data analysis session was probably worth tens of thousands of dollars in additional revenue for us, and the customer satisfaction, because they actually got the most value out of our programs, which is not even quantifiable in dollar amounts. So the point is, you don't need to become a data scientist or data analyst here. You just need to ask the right questions and do the basic work of preparing your data and asking, what should I do differently based on what you see here? Now, this last one will resonate with 100% of small business owners, which is that you wear every hat in your business. You are the strategist, the creator, the marketer, the customer service person, the product delivery person, the operations manager. And because you're doing everything, you're not doing anything particularly well. And you're probably exhausted and your business is not growing because you have now become the bottleneck who slows down your business growth. And the solution here is not hiring a full team because 1, you probably can't afford that yet. And 2, hiring people is even more work at the beginning until they start taking things off your plate and you have taught them how to do the things that you are doing now. And I have invested a lot of time and money in last years in mastering hiring and recruiting. And trust me, it is probably the most difficult business skill compared to any other skills. And that's why I actually share my hiring lessons very extensively on this channel, because there are so many things that you could do wrong and so many things you can do right if you know in advance. So if that's an important topic for you, then I highly recommend watching those videos because you definitely want to learn this properly. But as I said before, you can afford the first hire. You can actually start with an AI hire as your first team member. And remember, human versus AI, hire AI for things that humans are not good at. So basically for specific roles where AI actually excels. And here's how this works in practice. Very, very important. You don't create one custom AI, like a custom GPT, for example, that does 10 things. Like it has the knowledge base and answers the questions, but also it does your social media content writing, and it does brainstorming with you, and it does your strategy, and so on. Instead, this is very important if you want to get the best quality from your AI. When you have one AI doing 10 different tasks, which are different from each other, the performance of that AI massively degrades, and you won't like it at all. Instead, to get the best outcome, what you do is you create different AI sessions or conversations or AI projects like custom GPT where each one has one specific job and only that specific job. It doesn't do anything else. So for example, you may have one session, which is your business strategist. And that's where you talk through big decisions, get strategic advice, and so on. Then you want to have another session or conversation, which is your content creation partner, where you write and refine your social media content. You also want to have a separate one for marketing material, a separate one for the knowledge base that I mentioned, and so on. And here's a bonus where you can actually build your management skills for later when you hire human employees. The trick is treating each conversation like an actual relationship with a specific person who has specific expertise. So view it and treat it as a junior in a specific role in your company who needs training from you and continuous feedback to improve. For example, if you hired an accountant, you wouldn't ask him to give you marketing advice, right? Or you wouldn't ask your marketing manager for financial projections. So it's the same with AI. Every chat has a role that you assign it, and you keep that role consistent. And you train it for that role by giving continuous feedback. So every time it gives you output, you basically provide feedback about what to keep, what was good, what was bad. So it learns through this reinforcement. And when the output is not good, you basically provide additional context and information so it can improve its replies. So I personally, even though I have over 10 team members now, I have few chats that I use constantly. I have it structured the same way. My strategy chat knows my entire business context, my offers, market, competitors, my thought process, and goals. So when I'm making big decisions about the next step of the business, the direction, the strategy, I go there to help me brainstorm. Then, as I mentioned, I have script writers for each format and platform separately. Then I have my technical chat where I work through course curriculum, product development, this type of stuff. I have data analysis chat where I upload numbers and data and get insights. The knowledge base GPT that handles routine questions for my team members. So I have these different AI sessions or projects for different tasks. And it will take a little bit of time to set up this system. But once you have it, it means that I'm never starting from zero. I'm never staring at a blank page wondering what to write or what to do. I always have a thinking partner who remembers context, so I don't have to re-explain things, and it helps me work through the problems or decision making. It's literally like having a team of advisors, except they are available 24 hours and they never forget what we discussed last week. And the time savings add up really fast. I probably save about 5 hours per week on just the team questions. And I save minimum 10 hours per week on the content creation because I create a lot of content. So the fact that AI gives me so much speed is fascinating. Then I save another 5 hours probably per week on data analysis that again helps me understand what product improvements I have to make or what content I can create based on what's interesting for the people. So just these three, that's total of 20 hours every week. That's 2 full days of work that I got back that I can now use for something enjoyable, something more important, to actually growing my business instead of just maintaining it. So notice the pattern here. We solved 5 fundamental problems that every business owner will face. Things like decision paralysis, creating content from blank page, or repetitive questions, understanding your data, doing everything yourself. And the solution isn't even complicated and it's not technical. It's using AI strategically for specific problems and tasks instead of using it superficially for everything. So you basically zoom in with your use cases with AI instead of going broad and just doing some shallow chats, which everybody else is doing. And here's my practical advice. Don't do all 5 at once. Start with just one of these. Whichever problem is costing you the most time or stressing you out right now, that's the one that you should start with. So for example, if you're drowning in customer questions, then the first step would be to create your knowledge-based GPT and focus all your attention there first. But if that's not a big issue, and if you're rather struggling to create marketing content, then start with the writing workflow. And as I mentioned, keep improving it by giving it all the context and learning how to use it efficiently with the tips that I mentioned so that the workflow itself becomes way more efficient the more you keep using it. Or if data analysis is your biggest constraint right now, then focus on that. But just pick one. Set it up literally today. It's gonna take you literally 30 to 40 minutes, no matter which one of these 5 you choose. So set it up today, right now, start using it, use it for a week, refine it, give it feedback, learn how to get the most out of it. And once it works effortlessly and you get used to using it, then go to the next one. And trust me, people that figure this out now, the ones that start integrating AI strategically into their daily operations, they're going to create massive competitive advantage for them. So open ChatGPT right now, pick your biggest problem from the 5 that we covered, set up that one solution, 30 to 40 minutes, that's all it's going to take to completely change one part of your business operations today. And once you have your first win with this one, come back to this video and share your results with the others in the comments. But more importantly, if you discover new creative use cases which you think are going to be valuable for others, share that as well. Because trust me, people will really appreciate it. So looking forward to your replies in the comments. And if you know one person who you think will benefit from this knowledge here, then send them the link to this so they can come and watch as well. And with that, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.